Hi, I'm Slim the Barber. Thanks for tuning in to First Try DIY, where it's my first time trying to do something while I make an instructional video on how to do it. Today, I'm going to replace 4 square feet of drywall in the corner of my closet. Now, as you can see, I have a little bit of mold or mildew or something. I looked at it from the other side when I had my bathroom redone, and it was all clear, so there's no mold on the other side. Now let's get to the supplies list. I have 2 2x2 squares of drywall, 1 box cutter, 1 corner thing that I did not end up using, a drill, screws, mesh tape, a spreader thingy, a sand block, that gray shit in the bucket, and the red thing that I'll probably tip over. First thing I did was cut out the old carpeting that was in my closet. The next thing I did was measure out 2 squares, 24 by 24 inches, and the other one 23.5 by 24 inches. The 23.5 inch side is to compensate for the 1/2 inch of drywall that will be in the corner. And yes, 2 sweat socks make up my breathing protection. The next step, I took the box cutter and attempted to cut across the line, but I'll be damned if this wasn't nearly impossible. Upon consulting with my fellow YouTube carpenters and contractors, I realized that my dumbass was using the wrong tool to cut out the drywall, and I was cutting it too far. So I picked up a drywall knife, some people call it a steak knife, and then I only cut in as far as the first stud away from the corner. What I've learned so far is that even with the proper tools, demoing drywall is no picnic. Once I cut out all of the drywall, I sprayed the wood behind it with a 10% bleach solution just to be safe, and then I let it all air out for the amount of time that most contractors recommend. 2 weeks later. Now I will cut the drywall using only the best tools available. I will score the smooth side of the drywall using a box cutter and a Voyage of the Deep shark book. Then, using a TV tray, I will break the drywall where it was scored. Then I will flip the drywall over and use the box cutter again and cut along the fold in the back of the drywall. Then I'll bring the drywall in from my workspace in the living room to the closet in the bedroom and put it into the corner where it belongs. Notice how nicely I combed the back of my hair for all of you to see. Once I have the piece of drywall in place, I will use the drywall screws and screw the drywall into the studs. I don't really know how far apart the screws are supposed to be when you're drilling in the drywall, but it was just like a spirit flowing through me that told me where to put them, so I think God knows I'm right. Once I have all of the drywall pieces in place and screwed in, I take the mesh tape and I go down the spaces, I guess, I don't know what the cracks in the drywall and put the mesh tape over that stuff. After I've applied all of the mesh tape, I'll take that gray shit in the bucket and put my spreader thingy in it, and then use the spreader thingy to apply all the gray shit over the mesh tape. I am attempting to make the gray shit as smooth as I can on the wall. It's harder than it looks. At this point in the process, I'm thinking I maybe should have put all of the gray shit into that red thing that I was afraid I'd knock over, but I used the red thing as a trash can, so now it's got all this garbage in it, and I don't want to get up and put it in the garbage because I'm already in this sitting position. And in this sitting position, I can't get up because of my age and decrepitness. Now that I have the first coat of the gray shit on the wall, we'll come back in another month or so to do the second coat. I figured out afterwards that I probably should have used this step to sand the original coat, but I used just a wet washcloth and scrubbed it real hard. Not exactly sure where I got that idea from, but you know. The second application of the gray shit was a little bit wider than the original application to make sure that the edges of the gray shit from the previous application were a little bit more smoothed in, I guess you would say. I know whenever I have anybody else do any drywall work for me, the thing that I hate the most is the dust. So I actually, as I sanded, I put the vacuum cleaner hose next to the sanding block. And I don't know how well it worked, but whatever. So now that I'm done with the actual application of the gray shit and sanding and all that, I'm using a white primer to prime the wall before I paint it. And instead of showing you the strokes that I'm using, I'm just going to show you the back of my legs and the back of my t-shirt. Did you see that underwear? Nice. So after the paint job, you can see some stuff that maybe it doesn't look exactly great. It's not like any Jeff did it. No Jeff Clarkson, Jeff Block, Jeff Warzy. They all could have done a better job and quicker. But hey, I had time. It was during the quarantine, and it's still better than most of the self haircuts during quarantine that I've seen.